Welcome, these will be my thoughts on Runaways Season 2, Episode 2, Radio On. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for the show leading up to, including this episode, possibly everything MCU and adjacent that had come out when this episode first premiered, and we are still very, very close to me loving one of these episodes, but not quite there yet. So I wanted to start with a video recommendation, and yeah, Rebecca Watson, the Skeptic's recent video, recent-ish, UFO guy Bob Lazar's lifetime of cons is well worth your time. I'm gonna try to keep this more or less chronological. I do want to start by noting I don't know how I neglected to mention, it must have slipped my mind somehow, but yeah, do really like this, we see at the end of this episode, she really is going to, Molly is going to be a vigilante. I appreciate the way that so many characters are keeping secrets from each other, and the way that it's like, it's not like overwhelming. There's not so much going on that it's just, and part of it is that some of the secrets are related to one another. So I think I'm going to spread the secret talk over the course of the video. So yeah, we start with the, we see the remaining runaways, the ones other than Carolina, react to the quake. And, really nicely done on, now there's concern both amongst the runaways and Pride that this is just what Jonah is, Jonah is going to destroy the world. And I also think I neglected to point out, he said something along the lines of they're here or they're arriving. It's them, something along those lines. So he knew this would happen. This is not a surprise to him in the slightest. And, he helps Carolina control the power so she can now turn it on and off, which is, of course, also the first bit of IT advice you ever give. And the, let's see, I think that does bring us to, and as soon as she comes back, we have the first lie of the episode where she claims that, she just went for a walk. And I do also want to underline, I feel like the various secrets do make sense for the characters and the situations they're in. None of it felt like it was just there for, like, pointless drama. And I think that does bring us to, and so they talk about how, they're going to have to, there's the fixing of the electricity, there's the thing about having to get the staff of one, and Alex does tell them that he's, he doesn't even tell them right away, he just says he's leaving. Or wait, no, I think, let's see, he said work. He's leaving for work, And, we get another, See, the thing is, some of the time when they have Gert say something where we're clearly supposed to roll our eyes at her being a social justice warrior, and that was also, I haven't decided how I feel about the thing about, like, so the episode before this one, the season opener, had her say that it was different seeing social justice up close, And it's this thing of, like, I mean, that is true. It is obviously, but I can't quite figure out how we're supposed to feel about her saying that. Because earlier in the show, they've tried to make her seem like a hypocrite. And some of the time she is, I acknowledge that, which I'm not saying there's something inherently wrong with. I appreciate that we on the far left can be hypocrites sometimes. But the, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll later figure out how I feel about that. But yeah, in this episode, I mean, she's not really wrong. Alex is being a jerk, you know. The But I think we're supposed to find it cringy that she brings up the patriarchy when that's literally exactly what's happening there. And let's see. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Several of them just confront Alex in a way that doesn't really he's not receptive to, and then Molly just says, "You have to tell us," and then he does tell some of the truth. At least he says that it's Darius, but he also claims that he has an appointment with Darius now, and then which also I wasn't entirely sure if we were supposed to be surprised when Darius says you can't just show up uninvited. I thought that there had been some off-screen conversation where there were going to be more. Yeah. Anyway, I think that does cover the. Yeah, I feel like the very next thing we see is indeed him arriving at Darius' place, and yeah, he is of course there for Livy, and I will say these two definitely have chemistry. I hope that things work out for them, and yeah, appreciate that. That thing about like, oh, Tamara's old school. She prefers vinyl. Yeah, I mean, have you ever heard? It's amazing. Unfortunately, we don't anymore. But when I was a kid, my dad had a bunch of Elvis and Beatles and some Danish rock that you've almost definitely never heard of. On vinyl, and yeah, I've listened to all of that since on, you know, digital and such, and yeah, it's just not the same. Now let's see. I think that does bring us to see, and again, one thing. It's possible they'll answer this, and I guess it's also not the most important thing in the world, but I wasn't entirely sure by the end of this episode if the reason for Darius and even Tamara betraying Alex's trust by seemingly at least giving him, certainly Darius is telling Jeffrey that he knows where Alex is. I guess it's not impossible that he's going to do something other than give him up or something. Yeah. But is it because he wants Alex away from Livy? Maybe I'm okay with that. I'm not really saying that that's a criticism that I'm not sure yet. Now, I think that does bring us to so they go to the right. We also the members of Pride also split up, and we again have secrets and lies because Janet is not telling them that she's going to go see and help Jonah. And once again, like, we understand why. She wants her husband back so that they can get their son back, because like after all, her husband, it was really messed up. Presumably you also remember what happened in season 1, so I'm not going to reiterate it here, but I don't exactly blame her for focusing more on Chase than Bob, I think was his name. Anyway, I feel like that does bring us nicely to the so most of them end up leaving the Pride facility with the facial recognition and all. And Jeffrey says he'll stay behind, and then Tina insists that if they see something, say something to her specifically. And I mean, it's not exactly a lie when I'm sorry, there's so many names. I'm struggling to remember her. But yeah, she points out, how's the co-chair thing working out, and yeah, so Carolina, Nico, and Molly go to the home, and it's one of those things where, I mean, ultimately it didn't matter that they turned off the smart house, but they do also, it demonstrates that she she is developing her powers, and we saw which is a theme for the episode that is set up at the very start, because one of the first things we see is the thing about, Jonah basically says, feel, don't think. And she manages to turn off the glow. And, yeah, him talking about like, oh, they're my family, so they're your family too. I really am looking forward to seeing more of these, life forms that, anyway, I think that does bring, but yeah, so they're, they enter the home and they move around, and we almost immediately see, yeah, I do not remember, it's Tina's husband, and, yeah, I did like the thing, it could be forever before that. No, it's already too late. And let's see, yeah, I did appreciate, Nico points out, well, your emotional good cop didn't work. We both know what comes next, so just tell me where she is so we can get this over with, and he doesn't even put up a fight. And that is such a cogent criticism of many a parent to a teenager. So, yeah, that was very nicely done. And so I've spoken before about, I'm not saying they all have to be, but I do love when comic book media gets really melodramatic. I am here for Tina standing there looking like an evil queen holding the wand, and she's not even facing them. She's just talking because she knows that they're going to hear it and respond. Like, that was so cool, because like she turns around immediately after. They could so easily have had her already facing or just turning before she says her line or something, but it just would not be as fun. And yeah, Molly comes running, and I too like the odds of 3-on-1. And yeah, that I think was the best fight of the show so far. So I hope that this is going to be the new standard. I mean, I'm sorry, I found this much more effective of, this man, or yeah, of multiple combatants at the same time compared to, like, the climax of season 1, for example. But yeah, I think I already mentioned in my video on that one that there's too many characters there. They don't. It's somewhat like some of the Fox X-Men movies. Which ones? Kind of all of them, more or less. Well, I guess New Mutants does well. It's not a great movie, but it did that one particular thing well. Anyway, yes, I think that does pretty well bring us to, yeah, so the fight, appreciate the, it's powerful seeing Tina, she both attacks Nico and Carolina. That, I will say, so Nico said, seeing her hurt someone that I love, does she know that though? Because I don't offhand remember season 1 having Tina realize that these two are together. And yeah, just the various, they use the various powers well. So Molly throws something heavy, gets knocked back by Tina's power. Tina's just barely fast enough to stop Carolina's, energy attack. And yeah, Nico has to just, physically try to grab it, which also doesn't, yeah. It was really, really tense and suspenseful when Molly, yeah, the water is frozen over her. That is, and I agree with Gert. Like, Molly needs to talk about this. And yeah, the fact that, I mean, it's already scary to think that she's going to go try to engage in vigilantism, especially without the rest of the Runaways knowing. But she's gonna do it after having had this terrifying situation. I mean, that is an actual, if you experience something where you, for example, might drown, there should be no shame in, it doesn't have to be like a professional therapist or something. I appreciate that not everybody is in a situation where that's feasible, you know, but have someone, you know, try to find someone to talk to, someone you trust, because that's something you need to process. You know, that can really develop into a trauma. And yeah, the way that, you know, and then let's see, Carolina tries to break the ice with an amusing anecdote, but Tina is not having it. And yeah, and it's one of those things where, because that's, how do you defeat someone who has super strength? Well, how much can she use her super strength if she's underwater? The water pressure alone would make it very difficult for her to break a hole in it. So very nicely done on that. And yeah, ultimately Tina hands over the staff, but says that if, you know, Nico leaves, then they are really no longer mother and daughter. And yeah, Nico is more comfortable with that than Tina is. So that's yeah, and I agree, that is going to be very interesting, seeing the staff start to have a negative impact on Nico. And I think that does bring us nicely to the yeah, so Chase gets distracted by the rolls, and you know, ultimately they do manage to fix the electricity, though not immediately. And I do appreciate him caring about her medication, and she feels some shame over needing it so much, so she tries to deflect. And the conversation, I agree, you know, it is, I really appreciate that, you know, he said, as he says, there are some things he's good at. You know, one of them is this engineering stuff, but he does clearly also have more emotional intelligence than he has let on. And yeah, it's just great to see, you know, it's really important, you know, if you are a cishet man, do what you can to understand, you know, the women in your life, including your partner if you have one. There's so much, you know, women are socialized to be great communicators, but a lot of the time they are more reluctant to come right out and say the, you know, the thing that's, for example, really bothering them, if they don't feel completely safe with the man they're with. Sorry, yeah, I'm talking specifically of when they talk to men. And yeah, she's worried that he's going to leave. And I also like the thing with, you know, the world hasn't ended yet, or just something along those lines, because it's like, well, yeah, back then they thought the world was going to end, and now it's like, well, I mean, there was the quake, which we were warned about, you know. And now I want to play Quake 3. I am at some point going to do videos on at least some of the Quake games. Don't hold your breath. I think it's going to be a while. I got quite the backlog of games to get to. Anyway, yes. So the that was where does that get us? That gets us all the way to the right. I like the thing about, you know, the oh, I think we might have rats. Oh, like snacks for the dinosaur. Okay, fine. And yeah, I really, really don't want to spend too long talking about how it's just adorable Alex and Livy are together. So I will just note, you know, the little things of, you know, so yeah, he has dinner with them, which I guess maybe that was already when, you know, Darius and Tamara had decided that they were gonna. I did like the shot, the way that, you know, the camera reveals, yeah, Tamara's right there. She's okay with this, you know. Which I guess that was also maybe, you know, I mean, maybe it was just that they had a discussion between these two episodes of like, listen, if he comes into this home again, I will let Jeffrey know, and we won't have to worry about the cops, you know. Now, I think that pretty much brings us to the but yeah, you know, the this dinner, like, genuinely a positive atmosphere. And it's this thing of like, you know, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, they really are acknowledging, hey, you know, these are human beings too. Like, a lot of people think less of people who are poor and end up resorting to crime, which, like, have you actually looked at the situations they live in? Like, a lot of them genuinely have absolutely no choice. Like, the people we should be especially harsh on when they engage in criminal activity should be rich people, because they have no excuse. They do not have anything resembling the need for more money. Like, some of them do it because they're bored. Some of them do it just because they want to see if anyone's ever going to stop them. And yeah, we should. We should. There should. Yeah. I'm not talking about anything violent. I honestly, primarily, I do mean, you know, restitution, restorative justice. Now, but yeah, as soon as they've eaten, I did like that. You know, so Tamara's about to, you know, carry the plates, even though, you know, I think she said her feet were swollen because of the pregnancy. And Darius gets up and deals with the dishes. You know, that was genuinely sweet. And also just the, you know, they make a crack about his weight, and he doesn't, like, get angry with them or something. So that was also a good, you know, yeah, showing that he does have a heart. He does care about his family. And then, you know, there's the thing about, oh, how about you two, you know, wrap up the food? And, you know, they do that adorable thing of, like, both of them try to say something and actually speak over each other. And yeah, I like the point about the food. You know, he doesn't usually get soul food, which, if you've never had, is absolutely delicious. But but yeah, and he's like, oh, it's just kale and maybe quinoa. Is that how? I forget how that's pronounced in English. They even said it in the episode, but I already forgot. Is it quinoa, maybe? Anyway, but yeah, I think, and yeah, and then really appreciate, you know, Livy's confidence, because, like, she's seen the way Alex looks at her, and we've seen the way she looks at him. Clearly, they are both interested in the other, so she does not really hold back. She flirts very, you know, yeah, without any real hesitation. As soon as they have the room to themselves, you know, and yeah, I mean, so she's like, would you like another bite? And holds it up to his mouth. And then afterwards, she's like rubbing his hair and then styling his hair. And these are things that can be, you know, they don't have to be, although the feeding maybe, but you know, these other things, they don't have to be like couple kind of stuff, but they can be. You know, there are a number of people who, where the couple will cut each other's hair, and it's not always, you know, sometimes it's financial or something, but sometimes it is because, like, just, yeah, there's an intimacy to it, you know. And I do think he looks good with cornrows, and yeah, maybe that will mean the cops are gonna have a harder time finding. And I did really like the thing about, you know, she says that so casually, and he's like, ah, she knows, you know. And then I will say that was perhaps also, like, he's like, you know, they have a line about how she knows because the others told. I mean, it's been on the news. Would it be necessary for? I assumed that she had seen it on TV, but yeah. I mean, how else are you going to catch the Fox River 8? And was 8, wasn't it? Ugh, I need to rewatch that show. Anyway, stop giving me excuses to rewatch that show. I already have so many. And the yeah, the let's see. I think that does bring us to the yeah, and, you know, she says, I don't believe the things they're saying about you on TV. And, then she kisses him to make sure. And yeah, it's really, really sweet. I really hope that they do get to be together, but I'm genuinely worried. And yeah, uh, I did really like, Gert keeps saying, like, are you sure about this? Because this could be bad about the electricity. He's like, you're going to be really impressed. And I like the thing with, like, 50-50, 40-60. Well, okay, but in our favor, and, after all that, like, yeah, we genuinely feel like, okay, they're not going to actually have it fail after he's said so many times that it's going to work, right? They've had multiple jokes about it. But then it indeed did not work. And yeah, they tracked the blackout. Of course they did. That's what, that's what's supposed to happen in that circumstance, And yeah, the thing about, like, okay, dinosaur, you know what, Chase? I think you need to be more open to the dinosaur solution. And let's see. Or was it Gert who didn't like the dinosaur solution? I forget. But yeah, and he goes to do a distraction. I like it. He's like, oh, see, my distraction worked. And she's like, yeah, sure it did. And let's see. I think that was the yeah. I'm slightly torn on. So they say we should call someone to have them check this place, because there might be squatters. I hope that the idea is that by the end of the episode, we're not quite sure if that's going to happen or not. Because it's like, on the one hand, they still suspect squatters, but on the other, like, they can neither warn, they can't properly warn. Can they live with themselves if they get someone else killed by not warning them? Because, like, what are they going to say? You should, okay, important to check this place out, but just be aware, mountain lion, there's some kind of dangerous animal there. That's all, like, that's not gonna, yeah. So, because it is the kind of thing that also reminds me of Prison Break, this thing of, like, we're not sure how that's going to play out. And, did that person really feel confident that they saw or heard something? Are they going to report it, or are they going to let it go? And yeah, I hope that's it, because right now I'm genuinely not sure, and I will accept either. I just hope it was purposeful, instead of having us, the audience, think, oh, well, they're definitely not going to call someone now, that's for sure, when it's like, no, I mean, they might still, like, honestly, it's not impossible this is going to make them even more motivated to call someone, because they might be like, there's a dangerous animal out here, because, like, if they feel confident that they will be believed, like, you really don't want, because, like, that's a really bad combination. Squatters and a loose, dangerous animal. That's, yeah. And I really like seeing Gert use the psychic link, come, roar, come. And I feel like that pretty much covers. Yeah. So I liked Nico making some decisions at the table. Alex in absentia. And we have the part with the yeah, and how Janet, she's kind of playing her cards close to her chest, but I think she is. I mean she does kind of, at least with the rest of Pride, she does tell, Jonah, hey, I just want him back, to get, Chase back. She doesn't want to have to chase. And I think that does, yeah. So yeah, Nico snaps at Carolina, and I wonder if that's like a sign that the wand, that the staff is already starting to have an effect, maybe. But certainly it is. I appreciated the honesty in the writing there of, like, and that's, I'm not saying, all teenagers or all women or something. No, all human beings. Like, when we are upset, sometimes we will kind of project. She's like, Carolina did nothing wrong. But, and I do also like the idea. I'm looking forward to the. Hopefully, it really will be in the next episode. I wouldn't rule out that they're going to get distracted by, Molly doing vigilantism or something, but the idea of them training to work together as a team, that's going to be really, really cool. And because that's a thing for, season one's finale, like they just barely accomplished what they, they there was the thing about the, let's see, they broke the drill or something along those lines. They did something to the drill, but they only barely, and next time, Pride is going to know that they're there, and they don't know yet that Pride is not really looking to, it's Jonah who still wants to stop them. The rest of Pride just wants to find them and might work with them to stop Jonah, but and that's also, Jonah is by far the most powerful character we've met so far. It might take all of them together to work, and I don't know. I mean, so I haven't watched past this episode yet. Hypothetically, maybe this season ends with the Runaways as a really powerful team that work really well together, and they confront Pride, and it becomes clear to the Runaways that Pride do want to stop Jonah, and they're unable to, for some, or actually, yeah, maybe they try to attack him, and because the two teams don't work together well, like they might work together with their own team, but not with each other, because that they fail, they end up becoming double Runaways, and spend season 3 working their way up to a rematch where all of, Runaways and Pride all work together to stop Jonah, who maybe by then also has these aliens from the dig on his side. So now they have to stop them as well. And you could spend, several episodes of the characters, let's see, Pride, Runaways, and the audience just learning what are the aliens, what can they do, how to stop them. So that's just theorizing. Anyway, I think that does, and I really like Carolina calling Nico on it. And ultimately, Nico does apologize, which again, love to see it. Very important to do. And there should be no shame in it. Frankly, I think it should be far more shameful to refuse to apologize when you know you're wrong. And I have encountered so many cishet white men who just, it's impossible. They would never apologize under any circumstances. And it's ridiculous. And they're kind of insufferable to be around because of it. Now, I think, because, listen, everybody makes mistakes. The important thing is, what do you do afterwards? Do you apologize? Do you try to make it up to the other person? Anyway, I feel like, and to be clear, I'm also not one of those people. Let's see. I believe it was Talis the Introvert made an excellent video. I think I may have already recommended it before, but it bears repeating on, I think, I believe the title was something along the lines of "Everything You Know About Forgiveness Is Wrong" or something like that. And I very much agree with the points made there. We also shouldn't get too much about like, oh, if someone apologizes, immediately forgive them. No, that's like, there has to be a sincere effort. And if you find yourself in a place where you currently cannot forgive, I mean, maybe it's good to work on that, but you shouldn't have to just immediately forgive. That is not healthy for you, even if they might feel better. And that's also something, when you mess up, if the person is not ready to forgive you yet, you have to accept that. And I know that can really suck. I've been there, but yeah. And then we also have the wonderful flirty line of, there's the thing about like, are we sure you want to stay in this room because it's a little drafty? And, Carolina puts out, it's perfect for Wicca, and yeah, it's a little drafty. Well, I'm an expert in warming you up. That is such, yeah. They're so great together. They're so sweet together, and the way they try to take care of each other, and yeah, the thing about like, okay, I'm sorry, it's because of my mom. You were amazing. That was, yeah. And I also really like when Chase is like, does nobody care that we have electricity? And then someone says, I think it's Neo said, okay, so Jace made sure we have power, and she's like, that was all I wanted. Which I also appreciate, because, yeah, genuinely he just wants someone to say, hey, Jace made sure we have electricity. And I think that might just about bring us to the... Yeah, I think that is just about everything. I also really like, Molly continues to be quite adorable. That's her mask. She just pulls down the, and I do think there's they can do a really compelling story there about how she'll be in over her head, because, like, yeah, she's strong, and she seems to be getting to a place where she doesn't have to rest as soon after using her super strength, and sometimes she can use her super strength more before needing to rest. I hope this is consistent, because so far, as mentioned before, they're not always consistent about how that behaves. But I do like the idea that she, because she's been using her powers for, well, let's see, I guess it's not a terribly long amount of time, but certainly days. Has it been weeks since season 1 started? Because she did get her powers in the season 1 opener. Anyway, yeah, I like the idea that she is getting to that. And yeah, no, let's, okay, I'm gonna just real quick gonna mentally fast forward through the entire episode. I once again appreciate that Tina is that intense, because, like, you realize she could literally have stopped Molly without, like, I mean, Molly could have died, and, like, essentially, because we were told, Tina told Nico, you can essentially make it do whatever you want, and later in the episode, she uses it to turn the radio on and then tune it, and yeah, she still chooses specifically something that, like, she is trying to kill Molly. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. That is what is happening there. She doesn't even say, I'll free her if you leave right now, or if you, agree to give yourselves over to Pride, or something. She is trying to kill Molly. And yeah, that is so quite compelling. Because, like, I mean, yeah, hypothetically, okay, she can basically do whatever she wants to the water in the pool. Turn it to Jello. That's going to keep Molly busy for, at least a little while, probably several minutes, trying to get out of that. Or I guess, like, there's just, I'm just saying, there are things she could do that wouldn't, you know, and maybe she could maybe she could make Molly's clothes really heavy so that she's stuck and maybe remove the water from the pool so that she doesn't drown from that. But yeah, something along those lines, And I guess that does pretty well cover, yeah. I did also really like the thing about, I'm sorry, I'm still not remembering her name, but yeah, the lawyer says she's going to talk to Flores about, getting the APB canceled on the kids, and that's very clever, because, like, I'm sitting there thinking, I still am, that might actually work. Like, I don't see why that couldn't, I mean, the thing is, like, we, the audience, know that they didn't kill anyone. Yeah, if the police have another suspect, as they say later in the episode, I don't see why not. That's genuinely, there are a lot of stories where you really wouldn't be able to pull this sort of thing off, but it's not like the police are there because, they are, look at what they did to this drill. They are now, like, domestic terrorists because, you know, I mean, Trump was president when this episode first aired, and I don't know, he seems to really, really love labeling innocent people domestic terrorists in order to be able to get away with what his brown pants try to... That's what I call brown shirts. These ones, at least, do to these innocent people.